Looks like we have a short agenda. We have a familiar face in our audience, I see. So welcome, Reed.
Okay.
Thanks
So
for
if
having
we-
me, Tom.
So if we can go around the various boards and call to order. Mike?
MCDD is called to order, and roll call, please. Nancy Hendrickson,
Nancy Hendrickson is here.
Ken Anderton. No, he's having problems with his audio. Third would be Nikki Schultz,
Schultz, present.
Corky Collier.
Collier here.
Thank you.
Val, can you call Pen 2 to order?
Yes, Pen 2's call to order. Val Humble present. Is Karen Myers here?
Karen Myers here.
Mary Helen Kincaid? And she was having power problems apparently at her house. Leslie Sawyer? Kathy Kellen.
Kathy Kellen here.
So three supervisors are present. Pen 2 is called to order.
James, can you call Pen 1 to order, please?
Yes, thank you, Tom. Pen 1 is called to order. James Allison is present. Emerald Bogue. Okay, Emerald might try to call in. I know she's had some power and internet issues. Claudio Campuzano.
Present.
Annalisa Kohler.
Present.
And Jeff Noodleman is out today. Thank you.
We'll call Sandy Drainage Improvement Company to order. Tom Hansel's present. Ken, is your audio working? And Tanny Staffinson, I know you're on cell. Are you present?
I am. I'm Kenny Staffinson, present.
So Emily, any advice on Ken? Do we have an email or anything that he's present?
He did send.
Sorry, what was that?
Is Ken, can we call SDIC to order? We need Ken Anderton. I haven't got a verbal, he's here.
I'm here. Sorry, I was having audio
Okay,
issues.
excellent.
Yay.
Great, thanks, Ken.
All right, welcome.
Thank you.
And we also need the JCA to go ahead and call to order as well.
Okay, so,
Go ahead, Nancy, I'm sorry.
okay, great. So this is Nancy Hendrickson calling the JCA board to order. Tanny Staffinson,
Present.
Karen Myers,
Present.
Reed Wagner,
Present.
and did we get a fifth on here? Emily?
That was Claudio.
Oh, great. Claudio,
I'm
thank you.
present.
Great. We are all here, present and accounted for. Thank you.
Welcome again. I see this meeting is being recorded. Emily, any public testimony at this time?
Not that I know of. There are a couple of names I see that I don't recognize. Are there any members of the public here that would like to make a comment? All right, that sounds like none. So I think we can go ahead and move forward. I don't know, Kathy, did you want to, it's Kathy Kellen's first meeting on the Pen 2 board. She was appointed at their last meeting. And so obviously you all heard her say hello earlier, but I guess I just want to draw attention that there's a fresh face in the group.
Welcome.
Welcome, Kathy.
Welcome, Kathy.
Yeah, Tom, I think we can go ahead and keep rolling.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. So we have item C, resolution in support of the Army Corps of Engineers feasibility study. Hong, you want to carry this topic?
Sure, yes. And because we'll have a whopping 25 minutes, and I know that you're all anxious to discuss this. Before we moved to a full discussion, I would like to introduce Evan to give you just a short update on where things are and where this lands. So we are beating the horse just a little bit more here, and then we'll go into deliberation. Evan?
Great, thanks, Hong. We just wanted to quickly do kind of our standard overview of where we've been, what we've discussed, and what comes next before you start your discussion, so that you're kind of fresh on all of those things. So just really quickly, you've seen these slides before. Here is what you asked us for when we came to you in, I believe it was September, and asked what are the issues and topics that you really want to hear about and think about regarding the feasibility study. What we covered sort of over the last 5-6 months is, discussion of our local benefits and constraints in regards to the feasibility study. We went through details of the recommended plan. The Corps came in and talked about levee height and alignment, pump station improvements, the real estate plan, HDRW, hazardous, toxic, and radioactive waste investigations that were done by the Corps, and MCDD's assessment of the potential sites for unidentified, or the potential sites with potential for unidentified contaminants, and sort of our recommendations for next steps around that. We also talked about our timeline for authorization and appropriations and potential off-ramps where the districts could decide, to potentially walk away if something came up later on down the line. We looked at our self-certification of funding, which is a requirement of the Corps that the non-federal sponsor self-certify that they have a way to fund potential future work if the project moves forward. We talked about project cost estimates, budget, cash flow needs, sort of next year and beyond, potential cost allocation methodologies, and options to secure the 35% match. And those are all sort of things that we will need to continue to work through should you pass this resolution today. What we're prepared to do right now is in March, come back to the format with more specifics on the FY 2021-22 budget requests related to the feasibility study, as well as an 18-month schedule of kind of policy level discussions and cost allocation, local match, raising the 35%, kind of those issues that we'll need to work through over the next year and a half if we get authorized in WRDA 2022, which is certainly our goal, to get congressional authorization as quickly as possible should we move forward today. So I think with that, I will turn it back over to Hong, and I'm happy to answer any questions once y'all start discussion.
Thank you, Evan. And so you have been presented with the proposed resolution, as well as a red line of changes that are have been made since the last time you saw this resolution. And I would just want to add that the formality of this process is, I think, is going to benefit everybody in terms of new members, board members we have coming on. It's what the Corps needs in terms of documentation of our legal authorities, or at least board's decisions going forward. And you have been advised as to the factors that you should take into consideration in making this decision. Just to briefly, for the drainage district board members, I'll just highlight that with respect to the resolutions, we've proposed just very much language changes on more administrative and typographical changes. There aren't much substantive changes at all. With respect to the letter of intent, there has been some changes, at least with perhaps some environmental issues. And I don't know, Peggotty, if you want to provide a quick overview to the board with respect to the letter of intent changes. You're on mute.
The biggest change as far as we're concerned is there was some language concerns from the Corps of Engineers, most specifically on the, so I want to make sure I get to that. So on the, let's see, where is it? On the second to the last paragraph at the end, they wanted to, the last sentence, we are pleased to support, we're pleased to support alternative 5 that further reduced environmental impacts and avoided potential hazardous, toxic, and radioactive waste site risks. They were more concerned about some of the language. It would look like we had taken a bigger role in that issue. And if Colin, you want to step in at all to talk about this, but I think that was really the only one that we worked out the language. They are comfortable with that, and hence that's why it's up there. It doesn't substantially change anything. But from let's say this, but from the Corps' perspective, it did, and how it's going to be seen within the Corps hierarchical structure. So that was the reason we made those changes. The rest are more just trying to tighten up the overall language and just editorial changes.
So the only other change is adding as an attachment to the letter of intent is the qualification with respect to the district's self-certification of financial capability, specifically referencing not only the existing drainage district's authority for existing authorities as well, but also to include references to the new district with their 550 financial tools that open up and make available the financial capabilities. At the request of the Corps, we are keeping their generic certification language as is, but we were able to attach our qualification to it because I think it's important to recognize the financial capabilities subject to the new district. So we've got that cover. Where we will go from here is obviously I'll turn it over to Tom for discussion, but the expectation or the hope is that each district will move to pass the resolution and have the JCA authorize the sign, delegate the authority for Peggy to sign on the district's behalf. So with that, go ahead.
I'm going to just make one other statement, and that I think we made it clear in our last board meeting, but I want to reiterate, we did do this a presentation of this to the new urban district board and shared this with them, so they are aware there's a linkage, and just so that they need to go in with their eyes wide open, and they were fine. So just want to make sure you knew that.
Nancy, you had your hand up.
Yes, thanks. I had 2 questions. I'm trying to take my hand down, but I'm not going to worry about that. So Hong, I think you answered it, but I just want to make super clear. So we are not changing the Corps' boilerplate, because I know that can cause a lot of delays.
We are not on the self-certification on the financial capability. We are not.
Okay. And then I was going to put Colin on the spot, and could you just give us a very brief, description of how alternative 5 further reduces environmental impacts? Just like the 3-sentence version would be great.
Yes, so I'm sorry, my video is not working, but the alternative 5, the focus within the objectives of the study, it is to, where possible, to sort of reduce environmental impacts, and specifically during this refinement process over the summer, the Corps was able to employ different slopes and other infrastructure to actually have a smaller footprint overall, as well as making some other adjustments that require less land intensivity. So there's also a section of the parallel levee in Pen 1 that would be a flood wall, and so it actually avoids a environmentally sensitive area.
I appreciate that reminder.
Are there other questions from the boards towards Hong, Colin, or Evan?
Just Val Humble, I'd like to comment for the purpose of the minutes to record that Supervisor Leslie Sawyer has been able to join us. And for there are now 4 supervisors for Pen 2.
Thank you, Val.
Hong, is there more presentation on this topic, or are you ready for it to come back to the boards for discussion?
I'm ready when you're ready, Tom. I don't have any other presentation.
Mike, would you like to consider this with the MCDD board, please?
Yeah, I guess first of all, any comments or questions that MCDD supervisors might have? Beyond what Nancy already asked. I guess hearing none, I would entertain a motion. We've got some text on our agenda to help.
Can do that. I move to approve resolution number R 2021-0201 on USACE feasibility study letter of intent and self-certification of financial capability.
Corky, a motion. Is there a second by Corky? So roll call, Ken Anderton.
I vote aye.
Nancy Hendrickson.
I vote aye.
Corky Collier.
Aye.
Nikki Schultz.
Aye.
And I vote yes. Vote carries 5-0.
Thanks, Mike. Val, would you like to have discussion with Pen 2, please?
Yeah, you got to get unmuted here. Is there a Pen 2 supervisor who wishes to make a motion regarding this?
Also move. Do you want me to repeat it? I move we approve resolution number 2021-02-01.
Thank you, Karen. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Leslie.
Thank you, Leslie. Is there any discussion? In favor, Val Humble votes aye. Karen Myers, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Leslie Sawyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Kathy Kellen, how do you vote? Kathy, are you still with us?
Sorry, yes, aye.
All present voting aye for Pen 2. The resolution passes.
Thanks, Val. James, Pen 1, please.
Thank you, Tom. Any comments or questions for discussion on the proposed motion?
Make that comment that I really appreciate all the work that staff has done to inform us of what this decision point means, and to really work through some of the unique challenges around us as the current non-federal sponsor, and with all the challenges related to the transition to the urban flood safety water quality district. So thank you so much for all the work over the last couple of months, really helping us to understand this decision. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Claudio. And I would just reiterate that beating the dead horse is appreciated to kind of bring us along each month and remind us of where we're headed, what's transpired since the last meeting. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, I'm looking for a motion, please.
Move to approve resolution number R 2021-0201 on USACE feasibility study letter of intent and self-certification of financial.
I'll second.
Great, thank you, Claudio. Thank you, Annalisa. We'll do a roll call vote. This is James Allison. I vote aye. Claudio Campuzano,
Aye.
Annalisa Kohler.
Aye.
Great, thank you. The motion passes 3-0.
I'll call Sandy. Any discussion on this topic, Ken or Tanny?
No discussion.
Yeah, none here.
So with no discussion, let's go to roll call vote. Tom Hansel votes aye. Ken Anderton,
Ken Anderton votes aye.
Kenny Stephenson,
Votes aye.
motion carries. JCA, Nancy?
Thank you. Okay, so the same resolution on JCA. Would someone like to make the motion?
I'll move.
Okay,
I'll motion that the board approve resolution 2021-0201.
and a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. And is there any discussion, any comments? Okay, so I'll call the roll. Reed Wagner,
Aye.
Tanny Stephenson,
Aye.
Claudio Campuzano,
Aye.
Karen Myers,
Vote aye.
and I vote yes as well. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Emily, I think SDIC, I didn't think I called for a motion. We went right to a vote. So Ken or Tanny, can I get a motion?
Yes. I move to approve resolution number R 2021-02-01 on U.S. Army Corps of Engineers feasibility study letter of intent and self-certification of financial capability.
And I'll second that. And if we're voting again.
Yeah, motion and a second. So yes, Ken Anderton,
I vote aye.
Kenny Stephenson,
Aye.
and Tom Hansel votes aye. Sorry about that.
Right, thank you.
Moving on, I guess at this time, the JCA can adjourn.
Great. So the JCA is adjourned. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Bye, Reed.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, Reed.
Nice to see you.
It's good to see you.
So we're at item D, new business. Peggy, I'll let you lead this discussion.
Okay. Wanted to give you some updates. First and foremost, after the last week of snow and rain, our system has managed that snow and rain over the last week. We did have a little bit of we had a power outage at the Broadmoor pump, but everything is running fine. Pump number 2 has been able to help with that water control. Based on the rain and the forecast of the next week, we should be fine. In accordance with Randy and Bill, it doesn't look like we're going to have any day that's over an inch. So, but I wanted to let everybody know. Next, I just want to give you, we're commencing our budget season. We're in that process along with performance reviews. Those are all churning on top of it. And I need to stop a minute. First of all, I want to thank all board members and staff for the tremendous focus and intellectual capacity that's been needed over the last few months to get through this next phase in the feasibility study. Your questions have made us, the staff, better, and we have in turn been able to get the information that meets your needs. So I just want you to know I truly appreciate it. It's been a challenge. I know it's been a lot, and as Hong said, and James, we may be beating a dead horse, which never makes me happy because it's a horse. But you know, I really appreciate everybody's focus. Okay, now I'll go to back to what I was going to talk about, which is we have hired a new CFO. His name is William Nick. He goes by Nick Hogan. Nick has over 20 years of experience in public sector accounting and finance. He's currently at the SDIC School District as being their CFO and business manager there for the last 4 years. Prior to that, he was city manager in Stevenson, Washington, as well as CFO at the Hood River School District. So he's bringing a tremendous amount of experience to us. He will start on April 5th. He has a contract with Estacada that keeps him there until then. But we're already compiling a complete list of issues we want him to get addressed. But I think he's going to be invaluable, especially with this new district, as well as helping with where we are on our 5 organizations that we're working with, and actually 6. And the other thing I just want to let people know, he does have experience with GO bonds, which is going to be also a great addition. Next, the executive director position went out the 1st of February. Mary Rowe at Workplace Results has been leading up that recruitment. It closes on February 28th. The applications have not been as heavy as we got with the CFO, but we are having some good results. And I just look to all of you to think about anyone in your network that might be a good fit to get the word out. I know Mary is talking to a deluge of people, but I just want you all to keep that in mind. If you know when someone that might be a good fit for us, please reach out to your network. The other thing is, Evan, are you still on? I wanted to have Evan give you a little bit of an update on a legislative update.
Yeah, hi again. So we have one sort of formal ask in the legislature right now around $10 million for the levy grant fund that was created in 2019 at our request and at the Levy Ready Columbia Coalition's advocacy. And we just got that posted for a hearing. There's going to be a hearing this afternoon around 4:30 in the House Veterans and Emergency Management Committee. We anticipate, because most of these members have voted on similar bills in the past, that they will pass this bill and advance it to Ways and Means, and then it will sit for many months while we wait for the rest of the legislature to kind of get through policy discussions and move to funding discussions. It's a rough budget year, as I'm sure you've all seen in the news and are experiencing in your own organizations. So, you know, we definitely have our work cut out for us to make a case for continued support of levee infrastructure during these times. I think, you know, we definitely have a very good chance, given that flooding and breached levees will only make a bad situation much, much worse. We have our colleagues in Pendleton coming this afternoon to talk to the legislature about their experiences last year when the levee breached in Pendleton and the Umatilla River flooded an area, sort of industrial area and mobile home park. And so I think that will be really powerful. The other big sort of thing that we're working on, it's less formal and a little more behind the scenes, is we're working with Speaker Kotek's office to try to get some funding for the new district to support at least the next 2 years of work. We're asking for $2 million total, $1 million per year of the biennium. This is a much harder ask. You know, the legislature does not typically provide any other entities with operating revenue. It's not something that they like to do. You know, we are preparing for a meeting with the speaker in early to mid-March, where we anticipate a lot of difficult questions, including, will you ever come back and ask us for this money? Are you coming back in 2 years? So we are working very hard to ensure that the answer to that question is no. and are developing materials that will help show kind of what we're spending that money on over the next 2 years. The plan right now is to have at least Michael Jordan in that meeting, if not a couple board members from the Urban Flood Safety Water Quality District, including some elected officials, to represent the need and the work that needs to get done and confidence that it's going to get done. So we'll definitely provide more updates as we get further in the process, and as we see sort of how everything plays out.
Thank you, Evan. Appreciate it. I want to hit a few other things. I made a promise to keep you all informed of where things are with the new district, and they adopted their bylaws last month, which was a big accomplishment. A lot of work, and shout out goes to Kelly Sherbo and to Hong in that process. As well as last month, as I mentioned earlier, they got an overview of the Portland Metro Levee System project. They're probably the focus of that discussion were around some environmental issues, and we talked about the constraints and the purpose of the study, and we're doing some follow-up meetings with some of those individuals. We're in the process of putting those together to have some conversations offline as well. Evan is leading up they've set up their mission, vision, value committee. I think we just signed the contract with the Coraggio group, and they will start work promptly, because that really is going to set the framework. I kind of look at it, it sets the parameters of the work over the next 4 to 5 years. So, and into the future. So Colin is working on the revenue model RFP, and I'm not sure what has gone out yet, or is it going to go out in the next week, I think. So that process is moving, and we'll be pulling that committee together pretty soon. I will be working on that, as well as Nick will be a great fit into that, our new CFO, into that process as well with the committee members. For funding for, as we all know, looking at a drop off on that, kind of falling off a cliff next year. There's a couple things we're working toward. One is, I don't believe that we will have spent all of the grant money. So we're looking at an opportunity, the 500,000. So we are looking at an opportunity to see if we can get that extended for a slight period of time as a result of a delay related to COVID, to the delay that was related to not knowing if that funding was going to be available or not this last summer. So we're working on that route. As far as additional funding, where I'm doing a lot of work behind the scenes on a line of credit. I'm cautiously optimistic on that, but have been asked to keep it a little bit under the radar until there's a little more. I can provide more detail, because at this point I can't provide a lot of detail. Also, the other piece that I'm going to make a connection for is, as you know, or maybe not know, the LRC has been focused and did some charrettes on environmental and recreational activities. And some of that information is going to be valuable in supporting the environmental committee for this new district as we move forward. And in addition, we're developing financial policies that we are required to have with the TSCC and need to be adopted before their first budget meeting, which is scheduled for April 6th. And just a little side note, I don't know the exact date, but Kevin Bryce has been a huge supporter of us at the core and has been the civilian leading this effort for the Portland Metro levy system. And he is retiring before the end of this fiscal year. And they do not have a replacement yet. I know they were out looking, but I just thought I'd let people know. And I think I caught everything. For those of you who are also attended the Urban Flood Safety Water Quality District meeting, if I've missed anything or you have additional comments, please step in.
This is Val Humble. I didn't attend said meeting, but I have a flag I'd like to plant and urge you all to rally around it. And that is the Urban Flood Safety and Water Quality District obviously needs a shorter name. I want to plant my flag for Flood Safety District. My logic being they're going to be going to the public and asking for money, either bonds or approval of a new utility fee. They need to have a name that the public will see why they should approve the cost. We should begin calling it the Flood Safety District. That's my flag. Please rally around it. Thanks.
Thank you, Val. Appreciate that.
Peggy, can you just remind the boards what our schedule for our budget process? That's coming up, what, next month, next couple months? I know we're gonna be deliberating, you know, our needs for the LRC work. So there's.
Yeah, let me, I will also hope that staff steps in if I step in the wrong pile. LRC is going to have their first discussion next week at the LRC meeting on their budget. Urban Flood Safety Water Quality District starts theirs April 6th. And I anticipate our discussions with these boards will also start in April. If anybody has any, if I am incorrect, but that's how I have seen it, that's how our schedule looks.
Yeah, I would add the format meeting at the end of March. We're planning to have a discussion on multi-district projects, and so that you all in a group can discuss some of those projects that you're each contributing to. And then just as in years past, I think we'll probably start meeting with budget liaisons in April and then have first drafts of the budget at the beginning of May.
Thank you. Casey, you have anything to add?
No, I was just going to jump in if Emily didn't.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're concluded with new business. It looks like Pen 1 can be adjourned. James?
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for showing up. Take care out there. Pen 1 is adjourned.
So SDIC has an action following MCDD, so we will stay in order. So I'm going to turn it over to Pen 2, BES support for the South Shore. Val?
So Bill, you can go ahead and give your update for Pen 2 right now.
Okay, very good. Good morning, all. The Pen 2 board is aware of some recent flooding that occurred in their district near Northeast 13th and South Shore Road. The drainage actually is in between South Shore Road and Paloma Road. And it happened during a period around January 11 through 12th of this year. Since that, so at that point, MCD staff went out and put together a emergency pumping system to draw down the water, and then demobilized our equipment and moved back. Since that point, I wanted to give you an update on two things that have happened. First, MC staff has put together two contract options for the property owner on South Shore Road. If that property owner is interested in hiring us to draw down water for a particular point in time. We have not heard back from that particular property owner for several days now. The winter storm came through and probably put that on hold for a moment. We have found an additional option besides to pump, besides the one we used that went down 13th Avenue. And with consultation with BES, we found another option to discharge the water directly into a street inlet on Paloma Road. So that's going to be a lot easier and quicker for us to set up and demo. So that is out there. We have told those property owners that have been affected that they're welcome to come by our office and grab more sandbags as well as sand if they'd like to bring those out there. We provide technical assistance to them as well. So that's one set of information I wanted to provide. The second is we've been working with BES staff to explore how our partnership, our previous partnership and continued partnership would be to provide stormwater management out here. And the end result is that BES was willing to pay up to $15,000 to Penn 2 to support emergency pumping for this area if needed between now and the end of December, so through the end of the calendar year. Nancy Hendrickson's been instrumental in that, and she's on the line too with her city hat on to add anything beyond what I've said. Nancy, do you care to add anything?
Sure. Okay, so I want to be clear, so it's backwards, unfortunately, but so Mike, I'm going to our meeting for a moment, take off my MCDD hat and put on my city hat. Like,
nicely done.
So I just want to be really clear so everyone understands. So we actually have this issue across the city in various places where there is infrastructure that it's not really clear who owns it. So there is a pipe along 13th Avenue, and it's not ours either. I understand it's not Penn 2's, it's not the city's either. And so over the past couple of years, the city staff have worked with the drainage district staff to come up with a solution, and it's in our capital project, and it's going to be built this summer, and we will actually be providing service in the road along 13th. And that should solve the problem along here. But like I said, we do have there are a lot of gray areas. We have a lot in Southwest, for example, where, there's private infrastructure, there's public infrastructure, it all runs into each other because water goes downhill. And sometimes it's just not, sometimes the infrastructure was built before we had any codes or before anyone was keeping track. And so did a private person put that next to the road so they could have a parking strip or fill something in? Was it provided by a public agency? Nobody knows. So in cases where there is a gray area, then we have some criteria we apply. And I'm just letting you know in case you're wondering, well, how did you decide?
How did you decide?
Yeah, so our criteria, thanks, Mike, excellent question. Our criteria goes along the line of how many people are affected, is it life, is it property, is it, is it, if there is no life or property affected, then a lot of times we don't do anything. It's like, well, sorry, it's muddy, but it's muddy. right? So number of people, life or property, and then what kind of service do we provide there? In this case, we didn't really, there isn't service. In fact, we have service being put in place, but it's not in place yet. And so these are the kinds of things that we take to our management as well as the overall cost and say, and how are we going to do it? You know, is it easy to do? Is it hard to do? And so working with the district staff, we were able to put together a package that looked small enough to our management to go ahead with a big enough benefit to the residents in the area. So you're not alone in having infrastructure that you don't own or you don't know who owns it, but maybe it makes sense to provide a remedy, maybe it doesn't make sense to provide a remedy. I'm just giving you what we went through in this particular case, just for to throw some light on it.
This is Val Humble. Thank you for that interesting round. Yes, and thanks for the support on that from the BES. I do have a question. This 15,000 possible support for pumping, is it retroactive to cover the costs that we've already incurred? Well, won't pick it up if we've already paid it. Huh?
No, Val, the idea here was that both agencies recognize there could be a need to do some emergency work, and we contributed some funds the first time around, and BES is helping with this.
The other thing I'd like to know, if you can tell me approximately the address on Paloma where this street drain is that you would pump to in the future if you should have to put another pump out there. Do you have approximate, can you tell me about where that is?
Yeah, let me, I can provide that to you either through Emily through the chat or after the meeting.
Yeah, email me if you want.
Okay.
It's not highly critical. Don't spend a lot of money. Answer my question.
Yeah, it's across, more or less across the street from 974 Paloma. It's on the north side of that street rather than the south side.
That's
Bill,
good.
Bill, do you have what you need?
I have what I need unless there's other questions from Pen 2.
Pen 2, are there any questions from any supervisors? I see head shaking. Pen 2 is happy. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Nancy. Thanks, Nancy.
Val, Pen 2 can adjourn if you like.
Pen 2 is adjourned.
Thank you.
I may continue to lurk, but bye all.
Thank you all.
Emily, I'll turn over MCD selection of officers to you.
Emily, do you want to lead this or should I?
If you'd like, you can go ahead, Mike.
Okay. So I think we've got 6 positions to discuss here. President, JCA chair, new district representative, secretary, budget liaison, and LRC representative. And I believe what we've got tentatively penciled in and discussed is for Ken Anderton to take my gavel April 1st, for Nancy Hendrickson to continue on JCA chair, for Corky to continue as representative to the Urban Flood Safety and Water Quality District. I guess a question for the group is with respect to secretary, which Nikki has served the previous year, and budget liaison Ken Anderton served this past season. And for LRC rep, Peggotty was that for us to date, but of course she'll be moving on. So discussion for the group on secretary, budget liaison, and LRC rep.
I'm happy to continue as secretary if that's okay with everyone else. That fits with my schedule.
Okay.
I would appreciate that. Thanks, Nikki.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki.
What about budget liaison?
Like I'm fine continuing that as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Ken.
You did a nice
Welcome.
job with it last year. We appreciate. And Casey's back for one last lap. So, and we'll have our new CFO looped in, which so we'll have some more bandwidth, I think. And then for LRC rep, what do you guys think there?
I've done that in the past. I don't mind continuing that, but you know, if somebody else would like to step in, that's fine too.
What's the what is the time commitment on that? What are the major duties, Corky?
Well, and so,
Or-
Colin, you're still on the phone, right? Currently, Peggotty, Reed, we all
Yeah.
originally decided to have Reed as the sitting, and then Peggotty took that on following, so.
I think it's, from my perspective, I think it's really important that you have the executive director in that role because staff supports the LRC board and resources are applied. So I strongly urge that your new ED, I can keep on this role until I'm kicked out the door. But then I would strongly urge that my replacement take that role.
Oh, I agree. I was under the impression that you did not want to continue it. If you want to continue, absolutely. I think that's the most appropriate thing.
No, I am more than willing to stay in that role.
Okay, I appreciate your hearty recommendation. Thanks, Peggotty. Okay, so what I might do is see if anyone would like to make a motion to handle this all in one fell swoop with a slate of Ken Anderton for president, Nancy Hendrickson for JSAA chair, Corky Collier for new district representative, Nikki Schultz for secretary, Ken Anderton for budget liaison, and the new executive director to succeed Peggotty for LRC rep. Would any supervisor like to make such a motion?
I'll take a stab at it. I move that we appoint Ken Anderton as the new president effective April 1st, that Nancy Hendrickson be appointed as JCA chair, or our representative at JCA, I believe, and the Corky Collier be a representative to the Urban Flood Safety and Water Quality District, that Ken Anderton be the budget liaison, and Peggotty Yates be the LRC representative, and that Nikki Schultz be the secretary.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call vote, Nikki Schultz,
Aye.
Ken Anderton,
Aye.
Nancy Hendrickson,
Aye.
and I'll vote yes. How about Corky Collier?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you all. I appreciate it. So I think we'll toss this back.
And the only thing I would add is you all have a landowner meeting next month. And so because we did not have quorum in 2020, the quorum requirement drops down. And so I'd expect we will have a full landowner meeting. And so for election will be every seat except for Corky's will be up in that meeting. And so following that meeting, you will just confirm all of these whatever your selection of officers again.
Thanks for bringing that up. Also, that's when we would anticipate landowners voting for Kenzie Berry to take my seat. She's interested in and enthusiastic about that. Question for you, Emily. I don't see that landowner board meeting on my calendar, but maybe I missed it. Do you have the date?
I think it's on the 30th. Let me.
Of what day?
Of March.
Okay. And that's in the evening again?
Yes.
What time?
We have it scheduled for 6 p.m.
Okay.
I don't have that on my calendar either. Is it possible to send us out a?
Yes. Yeah, it looks like I just, for whatever reason, have it on a hold for staff, but not you all. So I'll do that now.
Thank you. All right, so back to Tom.
Mike, you can go ahead and adjourn if you like.
Okay, MCDD is adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Good meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know.
So for SDIC, this matter just came up last week. Peggotty presented me with Peggotty and Hong. We're questioning condemnation request or condemnation action from ODOT on some property that SDIC has an easement. So I'm going to turn it over to Peggotty. Maybe you can introduce this, or Hong, and then we can frame the discussion as to which council carries this.
And I'm going to turn it over to Hong, because Hong will have the more legal approach to it than I would. So.
And Hong, I just wanted to be clear that the port, I do have a conflict because this is a project that is, although ODOT's doing the condemnation, they're doing it on behalf of the port because we are accepted a grant through Metro to do the 40-mile loop trail. So it's kind of intertwined. So I just wanted to get that out there.
Thanks, Ken.
Hong, we can't hear you. There you go. Nope. Can you dial in on the phone if you have to?
I had a similar issue today. I'm wondering if it's a system issue.
Yeah, I think it is. There you go.
Now?
Yep.
Okay, I know that's
Thank
probably the, okay. Let's see if I can. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, great. So sorry about that.
You're
We're
not
just
the
happy
only
to have
one.
power.
Yeah, that's right.
Can't expect everything to work, I suppose. So this 40-mile trail has been a cooperative project among many stakeholders over the years. And we have been participating not only as a development review, but also as an interested party, because most of the trail sits on the levee. This ODOT, a condemnation proceeding, my understanding is news to us in terms of the fact that Kevin Severson, our project manager, he was taken surprised by this letter. So there was no discussion with the district and the project manager from ODOT about this. Upon receiving it, we were able to just do a little bit of investigation and determine that we would need, this is a proceeding against the landowner, Georgia Pacific, who is reluctant to give ODOT and the port, I suppose, give up easement for the trail itself. The district has an interest in this to the extent that any proposed taking by ODOT could impair any of our levee easement, an easement that we had procured on behalf and for the benefit of the Corps back in the 1940s. So my recommendation is that we participate, and in fact, that's what ODOT had advised us to participate in the proceeding if necessary to ensure that our levy interests are protected. My big concern is making sure that whatever they take, whatever they can get from GP, and whatever proposed changes they make to the levy easement, that easement is consistent with what the Corps needs going forward, not only past obligation and promise we've promised to the Corps to protect the easement, but also going forward as we move into the next phase of the federal feasibility work. So it is a legal proceeding, and obviously with Brian's involvement, we just want to make sure that it gets addressed, whether by us as staff here or by Brian. You know, we just need a direction. Kevin, Kevin, I'm glad you joined us. I just gave him an overview and the fact that this came as a surprise for you. I don't know if you have any comment to that.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. I mean, I think it was, not the development itself, I think, which was covered, that triggered our involvement in this. It was just the condemnation. Because we have that easement, we get notified, standard procedure of any condemnation to all the interests. We have an interest in that property because we have that easement, so that we get notified. I'm not anticipating any pushback or anything from ODOT on getting whatever easement we want on that land. They don't have any real interest there, and everywhere else they're just getting other easements given to them from the other landowners. For whatever reason, it seems like they're unable to make a deal with Georgia Pacific on this.
So when I became aware of this, I did contact Brian just to question if he had capacity to entertain and track this work, and he does. So I didn't feel comfortable unilaterally assigning him this task without coming back to Ken and Tanny for their discussion and input. So Tanny, Ken, do you feel you have enough information to kind of understand where we're at right now?
So Tom, a little background on this is a federally funded project, and so the port we have expertise in federally funded projects, but not this particular agency. I think it's Federal Highway Administration. So ODOT's been the lead agency on doing NEPA, and so this is interesting where you got the core interest and also other federal interests coming together. So I've been hands off in terms of the project. It does roll up to me in terms of the program under a trip ultimately. But I think from what I hear is ODOT just needs the right of way, and I don't know what the issue is with Georgia Pacific. It might be a liability issue that they want to ensure, because there's concerns about homelessness, et cetera, on the 40-mile loop trail. And so really, whoever takes it up, but I don't really have a suggestion. It's just more or less, I think it's just we need to work together to find an acceptable solution that also works for the private landowners as well.
Danny, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to kind of ask something along the same lines. Has anyone talked to Georgia Pacific and found out what their position is with this? It's a strong position for ODOT to be taking. I get it, but and I think we're going to get kind of pulled into the wash here a little bit. The other question I had is, so as we go forward, is this something we'd be billed for in additional by MCDD, or is this part of our contract, or how would this work?
So in terms of if this is going forward and you want MCDD to track through the administrative service, I would just bill it to as administrative time to SDIC. Depending on the complexity and how much we have to do in terms of the court filing, we may have to pull in outside counsel of Miller Nash to help us get involved. So at this point, it's hard to say, and I'm sorry that I don't have more information. I didn't want to move forward with contacting the Oregon Department of Justice without talking to the board first.
Yeah, and I just like to add one other thing, and it would be just making sure our big interest is making sure that our easements remain intact now and into the future. That aligns with the work with the feasibility study as well, and the other easement efforts we're doing.
So the one consideration, I'd want to make sure if Brian moves forward with this, he'll just work with Kevin and other MCD staff to, this isn't us working independently. This is going to have to take significant amount of collaboration potentially. So is that would be acceptable?
Yep, I'm
Yeah.
happy to.
That's a decision. Yeah, that's a decision the board can make, but we can work with that.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Brian, do you have any comments to share?
Yeah, I've got capacity to work on this, and I'm comfortable with any sort of litigation, whether it's being a defendant in this or intervening on behalf of SDIC to make sure that that our easements are protected as well. And I mean, obviously, I just represent SDIC. I don't represent MCDD or the new Flood Safety Water Quality District. So I've got SDIC's interest, and that's all I got right now. So I'm comfortable with it. I think I got a great working relationship with MCDD staff, and I don't foresee any issues taking this on, talking to either ODOT, Georgia Pacific, MCDD, or any other entity that needs to be involved in this process.
Yeah, so if that was if that is the decision, you just need to be attuned to whatever proposed changes to the easement is consistent with the Flood Control Act, with what we've agreed to, with what SDIC has agreed to with the Corps, and with whatever standard of easement language that they are expecting of us. And so that's something that Evan and Colin can help with through the feasibility team.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're handling those consistently across the system as it relates to the Corps and our easements accordingly. So I anticipate there will be conversations between Brian and Hong.
So Emily, I'm not, this was a quick item we got on the agenda. Are we able to make a motion today, or is this not, I'm not clear
Hong,
what authority we have?
Yeah, I think on this, because of sometimes the lack of clarity between the work that staff does on behalf of SDC and that of Mr. Sheets, I would recommend that you do a motion and go through the process to vote him on, so that everybody has a record of that. He's going to be primary on this, and we're going to take a seat back and let him be the responsible role on this. And that we will not do anything without his direction.
And the other piece that I strongly want to encourage is, after a motion is made, a clarity on who's doing what between each of the entities, so that we know if Brian's taken the lead, what the expectations are for others in the organization, and communication, because we just don't want to get miscommunication through this process. It's too important.
Understood. So any additional discussion, Ken or Tanny? Or Brian, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts would be to, outline that that I would be the primary point of contact between ODOT and SDIC for this, and then get that communication, and then act as basically a project lead for this, and give direction and request support from MCDD staff as necessary.
And I would appreciate you being able to keep us informed of that communication, because it's a small town. I mean, conversations may occur, so our staff need to be aware during that process, Brian, so that if conversations come up, it wouldn't be appropriate for us to respond, or somebody could say, Brian said this and we don't know. So I'm just asking for very close communication through this process.
Understood. I can appreciate your concerns, and I will do my best to keep everybody that needs to be informed on this informed. And so after this meeting, I'll shoot Hong an email so that there's a clear communication path there, so that we can make sure that I get the responsible parties at MCDD informed of the information that I'm able to get from this, and so that there's a nice pipeline of information that I'm working with to your team.
Okay,
Yeah,
and please
I-
copy me on that, because I should know what staff is up to.
Yeah, I just want to be clear, at this point, we are handing this off to Brian Sheets, and that he will be the lead on this. So Kevin, if there is any, if there's a request from Mr. Sheets, you please keep us all informed, because I don't want Kevin, if Brian, you're taking this over and Kevin is talking on a different line with respect to his role as project manager on the overall 40-mile trail project, that's going to require some clarification of roles and duties. So again, we obviously don't want a missed opportunity and confusion over who's responsible for what portion. So I think it behooves all of us to get it in writing, because I don't want to miss a legal deadline if due to confusion in communication. Okay.
Yeah.
And I
So we're
need to
not-
know how resources are used. So
just for clarification, we're just looking to maintain our current easement. We're not acquiring, we're just maintaining what we already have. And that's what council is going to do for SDIC.
So my recommendation is you either look to maintain the 1940 easement, that's the best situation, or in the sense that ODOT takes it subject to our 1940 easement, or if they are proposing changes to our easement, that new easement that they are making us take subject to is consistent at a bare minimum of what was agreed to back in the 40s, and what would be agreed to going forward in the future. So I don't know what the circumstances of the request on SDIC is with respect to the ODOT easement.
So Ken, I heard you say you have a conflict of interest. Can he vote on, so I guess that's this point of clarification. Can Ken participate in the vote of identifying counsel for supporting this? He's not voting on any other action.
Yeah, I would recommend that he doesn't, since he has kind of a high level role with respect to just the 40-mile trail and the role of the port. So I recommend not. Sorry, Ken.
I appreciate that. I will not vote.
Danny, do you have any comments, or would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that Sandy Drainage Improvement Company authorize Brian Sheets to be lead counsel for the issue of the condemnation with Georgia Pacific and ODOT to protect any easement rights that Sandy Drainage Improvement Company has on that property.
Pong, are you okay with that? Is that comprehensive enough for you?
Yeah.
Great. So I'll second that.
Okay.
Roll call vote. Tanny?
Yes.
And Tom Hensel votes yes. So can a motion carry with 2 members?
Hey, it's quicker that way.
Just
yes, it can, because there's only 3 members currently on the board.
Okay, great.
And
Brian,
I
thank you.
abstain from vote.
Hey, thanks for your vote of confidence on this. Appreciate it.
Yep.
You bet.
Emily, thanks for the quick shuffle to get this on today. Appreciate that. Hong, Peggotty, you have a relationship with Brian already. I'm feeling comfortable with this. So thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Go watch a Mars landing.
Yeah.
Thanks.